Hey there, guys. I'm Toby Rudolph, and you're about to listen to the ET Stand podcast. Shaka, brah.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite-level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand podcast.
Welcome to this bonus episode of the ET Stand podcast. We're live on a Thursday night, and I'm live from Melbourne. I'm apologising for the lack of quality audio. I wasn't able to bring all of my gear and the microphone and all of that stuff, so we'll just have to put up with it. I'm in a rather picturesque, what would you call it, border house down here in Melbourne, close to Amy Park. Let's get into it. I'm joined by the ever-impressive Stephen Franklin, here to take us through it on the ET Stand, our resident Sharks expert, and then a man who has forgotten more about the Storm than most people know because he knows so much. Stormy Daniel, the host of the Stormcast podcast, great friend of the show, normally. But maybe this week, the next couple of days, we don't like him so much. We love Daniel. Good to see you, buddy, and always great to renew the Melbourne Storm rivalry. How are you, our good friend?
Yes, I think they would refer to us as frenemies. Not quite a friend this week, and not quite an enemy, but somewhere in between. But mate, I'm doing well. I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm anxious. I'm all of those emotions rolled into one, as I'm sure you gentlemen are as well.
Correct. Well, look, we certainly are that. Look, we do have the comment competition going for anyone who wants to comment. I know we're live a little bit earlier than we normally were expecting to be, so we may not get as many commenters. So this might be a good way to get your chance in the draw to win a unit from Displayware. If you're new to the channel on the ET Stand, we're live on YouTube at 8:30 every Tuesday night and after post games at full time, and we will be live hopefully with a successful debrief with Franko and me after full time with the Sharks. But Daniel, let's get into it. The Storm, all the talk. Jahrome Hughes, is he going to play or not?
Supposedly he's got through. He's got through all the tests. There was quite heavy contact sessions this week, starting on Monday at an open training session, and a lot of the onlookers there and the video footage that did come through was testing that forearm of his. Got through a rigorous session on Tuesday and supposedly got through unscathed today in captain's run. So by the looks of it, the reigning Dalian medalist will be playing. So my personal opinion is it is a risk. It is a risk, and I think anyone of sound mind would suggest it is a risk as well. But there's no tomorrows, and I think that's probably the focus and the mindset going into this game, Boldo, is that if they don't play him and they bow out, well, what could have been? So it is the Melbourne Storm coaching staff rolling the dice. But I also think too, I think the relationship between coach and player would be important here. I think Bellamy has enough trust to have that honest conversation, and vice versa with Jahrome Hughes, that if he wasn't ready and he didn't have confidence, he's not the selfish type to say I want to play. He'd be giving an ironclad guarantee to Craig Bellamy that he's good to go. He wouldn't risk it. He would not risk it at all, and that, I suppose, that gives me confidence because he's honest enough to tell Bellamy, look him in the eye and say, Coach, I'm good to go. And you can't bullshit Belzer. So he would have taken on his word to begin with, but also the Storm medical staff would have had to sign off on it. And I suppose what gives a lot of credence as well is that the surgeon who actually operated on Jahrome Hughes only 3 weeks ago virtually come out and said, well, he can't do any more damage to it and he should play. So when you're getting the the tick of approval from his surgeon, where the arm is actually stronger now because of the plate that is in there. And it's often the case when you do have a plate go into a broken hand or a wrist, etc. It's waiting for the wound to heal. So rather than the actual injury itself. So that's where I think it sits.
I'm sure he'd be needled up as well, right, to limit the pain in terms of hand movement around that wrist. I think it's interesting, Dan. Everyone is focusing on the fractured arm because it's such a quick turnaround. But he does still have the shoulder injury to worry about.
Yes.
Do you think the extra time out of the game has helped him there, and that's why there's been a lack of focus on that, or it's just out of sight, out of mind?
Yeah, well, there was the talk that obviously going into round 27 against the Broncos, should he play? And again, he was confident, had ticked all the boxes, and then obviously ended up coming off in what was a chaotic night for the Melbourne Storm against the Broncos in round 27, where he obviously has that break in his forearm. Now, if that doesn't pan out the way it does, then who knows what happens in regards to the shoulder. But to your point, if you go and look at his defensive technique going into the tackle where he actually does break his arm, it looks like he's trying to protect the shoulder as opposed to going in. So did that result in him breaking the forearm? Potentially. And that could have been more of a mindset thing, wanting to, or I suppose like anything, you can do all the reps of training you want, but once you're out there in the battlefield, all of a sudden you become a target. And just like the Sharks tomorrow night, they're going to be running traffic at him. And that's what the Broncos did. And they obviously were able to exploit a potential chink in the armour, and it ended up him breaking his forearm. But the extra time off now, an extra 3 weeks where he has done no contact, does that help the shoulder? Potentially. In saying that too, to strengthen the shoulder, you've got to have use of your forearm and your arm. So I don't know if it's a hindrance or not. I'm not a medical expert, but I would just assume that the additional 3 weeks that he has been on the sideline you would think that it would contribute to more recovery time in and around the shoulder. So obviously he'll be wearing a brace regardless. So yeah, that's where I think that sits.
So the inclusion of Hughes, Daniel, though, that's a big in. How much of a difference does your star halfback and your key playmaker really make to this Storm team?
I think a lot, purely the fact that one, confidence it would give to other players in and around him, knowing how vital he is. And he's a key ingredient in terms of their success, specifically in attack. But I think more so, he's a great communicator. And one area of, I suppose, perceived weakness is on that right edge defensively. Now, when you've got Hughes there, Hughes can talk. And not to say that Wishart or Pezzett couldn't, but when you've got that sort of continuity, the cohesion with your 4-man, your 2-man, and your winger, that you've done all those reps with in the preseason, you've played together for the past 2 to 3 seasons together. You know visual cues, you know body language, you know when to jam, when to not, when to slide, etc. Him being back there is actually going to help that edge defensively as well. So not so much what he's going to do in attack. I think it's probably better and more, it gives me more confidence that he's going to be out there as a voice communicating with Katoa, Meaney and Warbrick on that edge.
Yeah,
it's a good.
All right, we've got a few comments coming in, Daniel, so we'll go through those.
Hello to you too, Ashley Williams.
Well, we won't read that out. Great work, Daniel. Vincent Spears Music says up. Mike Knight says howdy doody dandy. Hosea, who's a friend of ours from the Warriors show, Hello, boys. Warriors fan here, cheering your team this Friday. I think the Sharkies, Daniel, do have the league, the majority of the league. I think we'll be supporting the Sharks against the Storm.
The neutral
Does that
fan
matter?
base?
Do you care? The neutral fan base, I think, is going for the Sharks, Daniel. Does that matter? Do you care?
Well, that goes against the narrative that Nico Hines and co have been peddling, saying that everyone's writing us off and the siege mentality, bunkering down, diss us, you're dissing our family, yada, yada, yada.
There's a bit of
So
difference between the common fan and the media, though, I would say.
Yeah, well, again, it flies in the face of the narrative that the inner sanctum of the Sharks are running with, but each to their own.
What do you think of the rhetoric that Nico and the Sharks team are banding around? Do you think it makes any difference at all, or you think it's actually worthwhile doing? How do you obviously, I thought you come out a little more negative on it than I was expecting. I didn't really think much of it.
No, not so much that. Just I suppose the neutral fans rather that. I personally don't have a problem with Nico, Ronnie Mulatalo and co, and Toby Rudolph coming out and being rather bold and on the front foot, and I don't have an issue with it at all. To me, I think it's a healthy line of arrogance that they are taking. I mean, you don't get to a prelim final if you can't play good football. You look over the past 2 months, defensively, they've been the best defensive team in the comp, I think, conceding just a tick over 13 points. They've won 8 from 9, and their attack is humming. So I don't have an issue with them coming out and making the comments that they are. I think pressure is a privilege, and if they're happy to put some pressure on themselves, and they're happy to talk the talk and walk the walk, then all strength and power to them. I've got no issue with it at all. They've got to back themselves, and they are. And if I'm a Sharks fan, I want to see that confidence.
It certainly changed the amount of coverage that this match has gotten coming into it. And Franko, you can probably provide some commentary on this too. We'll start with you. The Sharks seem to be getting more coverage in this match than the Storm. And the Sharks typically don't get anywhere near as much coverage as anyone else coming into matches. We haven't had any match from the finals in the past few years. We rarely get the coverage. Why is that, Franko?
I think there might be a bit of recency bias there. Like I said, as you get into the finals and as teams drop off, you do get more coverage because just by attrition, there's no one else to talk to. That said, we are kind of creating our own headlines now by coming out and candidly speaking to the press instead of running the old cliches. And I think it's a little bit fresh, a little bit different, and that's giving media personalities something to latch onto and talk about. If we'd have just come out and said, the Storm are a great team and we got to take them seriously and 1 week at a time, all those sorts of cliches, it'd just be business as usual, right? But coming out and throwing a few different curveballs at the media, you can get 4 or 5 different clickbait articles from each of them. You can have a chat for 5 minutes on different opinions in 360, and away you go. So it's self-fulfilling as well, right? So as Dan said, you're putting that pressure back on yourself. So by doing so and then proving yourself right or wrong, gives the media that next narrative to continue that discussion. As opposed to then, if you did the old cliches, they'd have to come back and prod you for more articles, right?
Yeah, but you don't see the Melbourne Storm ever. I don't remember the Melbourne Storm ever coming out like the Sharks have this week, and the siege mentality and that sort of stuff. Daniel, you can obviously correct me, but it just doesn't seem to be a Storm thing to do. The Storm is a professional rugby league outfit that doesn't create additional distractions. I think it may actually hurt us talking it through us. Daniel, what's your commentary on it?
Well, it hasn't hurt you the previous two weeks, so you've got to take some confidence out of that. So, I mean, I was talking to one of my best mates, Jack, who listens to this podcast. So shout out to you, Jack. I know you'll be listening to this, but I was saying to her in regards to this is that winning is habitual, right? Just like losing is habitual. And at the moment, they've got the winning bug. They don't know how to lose at the moment. They're riding momentum, and momentum is a wonderful thing to have at this time of year. And if you've been able to, one, have a healthy list, which they do, they've got their best 17 available, albeit no Cameron McInnes, but everyone else is fit, everyone else is healthy. And two, when you've got momentum, those two ingredients, it's almost a recipe for success. So winning is habitual, and at the moment, the Sharks have the habit of winning, and that's going to be very, very hard to stop. And I suppose the other thing too is that they don't fear the Storm and they don't fear Amy Park, because this current Sharks group have had success down at Amy Park. So they've had success in beating the Melbourne Storm this season. So I don't think there is any fear at all. And I suppose that
nothing to lose.
Yeah, but I think that also
change
adds,
up the team and stick Talakai in the centres and Atkins on the wing, though.
Yeah, but you look at, and I think that's probably where the arrogance probably comes from, because of that confidence, and builds into the narrative that they're running with at the moment. So yeah, look, I fulfilling, absolutely. So, but yeah, they're.
Well, let's chat on the Storm momentum. Let's chat on the Storm momentum, Dan. The match against the Bulldogs and the resultant weekend, we saw the Bulldogs bow out. I can't see you, maybe you correct me if I'm wrong. I don't feel like that match against the Bulldogs was a particularly good primer for coming up against a red-hot Sharks team. And you've had 2 weeks off now. Sure, you were a bit broken and busted. How are you feeling about the momentum of the Storm, and where are you guys coming into this prelim against the Sharkies?
Not confident at all. Not confident at all. And that's the thing where they sort of limped in to week one of the finals. I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing. If they had their time again, would Bellamy have rested everyone in round 27? Yes, maybe, no, who knows? But hindsight would suggest that you would have, because one, you wouldn't have lost Pappenhausen to a HIA. You wouldn't have lost Hughes to a potential broken arm. You wouldn't have lost Nelson Asafa-Solomona to suspension. So they're 3 big key outs straight away for week one of the finals in that regard. So they limped in. They did what they had to do to get the win, and virtually they've put themselves in the ice bath and the sauna for the last 2 weeks to get themselves ready to be able to take to the field this week. So yes, they get Ryan Pappenhausen back. Yes, they get Jerome Hughes back again, who's going to be a target, obviously, and rightly so. Momentum, there is none. There is none. There's been inconsistency in their performance for, I suppose, majority of the year. You could probably mount an argument. Yes, they've had moments where they've been absolutely simulating and blowing teams away, but to be able to string those consistent performances together back to back, week to week, it's almost been a byproduct of what this season has thrown up. You know, apart from the Raiders, there was no real consistent sort of performer. Even those teams that did feature, like the Broncos and the Storm in the top 4.
Broncos lost a bunch of matches. Bulldogs lost matches late.
There's been no real consistency, and that's been a byproduct of how close this competition has been. And I think the Storm...
Well, also just how open it is. So I think,
a
2016 Sharks or a 2017 Storm team in this competition, I think wins 15 matches in a row and ends up being a dominant NRL premier, which I guess is why also the trepidation and the excitement about this season is, I'm sure you're licking your lips that, the Sharks have got a 14% win record in prelim finals, and I'm sure you would love to knock off the 4-time defending premiers. So it's, there's an opportunity there with this premiership. It might be an easier premiership to get than ever. Let's talk on the spine. So I saw a stat that was thrown around that your top 4 spine players have played together 8 matches this season, and they've won 7 of those 8 matches. And the only match they lost was against the Sharkies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then there's all the talk, the Sharks 4 have got consistency. I don't think Pappenhausen, Jerome Hughes, Cam Munster, and Harry Grant are that worried about only playing 8 matches together this season, given that they've got a lot of experience together from previous seasons. I don't think that's a factor. They know how to play together. They could not play together for a year and they could come back next week, couldn't they?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So, yeah, the stat is rather 90% win rate when they do play together this year, only playing together 8 times. Yeah, impressive. But to your point, not at all. I think the repetitions that they've had over seasons together in those key positions, the understanding, the formula, the trick shots. I mentioned before about Hughes being back on that right edge, like those little cues. They don't even have to be, it doesn't even have to be communication. It just could be a body language or a wink or a nudge, etc. They're things that just come with playing so much rugby league together and doing all those reps and pre-seasons together. I mean, they know how each other play. And regardless whether it's only 8 games this year or not, I don't think it's going to make one iota of a difference.
Vincent Spears in the comments says he won't last the whole game, saying he got surgery 2-3 weeks ago. If he doesn't last the whole game, what happens? What do we expect to see from the Storm in that hopeful scenario for us, Daniel? We'd rather beat the Storm full strength. But what happens if he goes down, Jerome Hughes? What will happen, you think?
Well, 2 things. One, I haven't seen the updated team list to see who's in the final 19 at this point in time.
It hasn't come out yet.
Hasn't come out? Well, there you go. So 1 to 17 at this point, Wishart is named in the 14. So you would assume the resident Mr. Fix-It, the Melbourne Storm Swiss Army knife, who can fill in anywhere. If Hughes does go down, then Wishart would be the obvious choice to jump in on that right edge at half.
Oh, wait on, Dan.
Breaking
hit refresh. I've just hit refresh.
Breaking news, live on the ET stand. Hearing it here first, guys.
Players cut. Bronson Garlic, Falogo, and Jonah Pezzett.
So Pezzett's been cut.
Big
Then Hughes
news
is
there.
100%
Give us your reaction.
playing. Yep.
Give us your reaction to Pezzett being cut.
Well, they're rolling the dice. That Hughes is 100% going to be playing, and if he does go down to injury, fall to injury, I should say, then obviously Wishart will come off the bench and jump into half. That would be the obvious plan of attack, considering he has deputised there previously when Hughes hasn't been there.
For the
Sharkies,
Sharkies,
fullback, Daniel. Go Franco.
Hiroti, Beryl, and Tupua have been cut, which means that Kafusi's calf must be good.
Okay. And what is it? Atkinson's 18 and who's the 19?
Atkinson's 18 and we've got Tupua, Hohepa at 22.
True.
But yeah,
got it. Daniel, the Pats. So what are you expecting? I remember him coming back from one match out and him absolutely carving up teams. I don't think he's going to struggle having a week or 2 off. He's going to be raring and ready to go, isn't he?
Yeah, I think very similar to Harry Grant having that sort of enforced layoff 2 weeks before week 1 was probably a blessing in disguise. Missing week 1 of the finals, I think Pappenhausen is going to really find that week off beneficial. So virtually he hasn't played since round 27. So he's going to be fresh. So I would anticipate that layoff and time away to get his body 100% ready for this game. I think he'll be jumping out of his skin.
And then let's touch on Munster. He obviously performed in State of Origin, as he always does, and he's getting the plaudits of being the top player. Matty Johns thinks he's the top player in the NRL. What can you give us a commentary on Munster's season so far?
when you say top player, I think Matty Johns is saying top big game player as opposed to best player in the game. And I would agree on that in terms of when, on the biggest stage, Munster rises. So Origin, finals, grand finals, etc. He does have a tendency to stand up. So the bigger the occasion, he can get himself up for those games. And I think that's what Matty Johns was referring to in that regard. But
Yeah.
I tend to agree with that. I think that his body of work in big games, he does have a tendency to lift and rise in that regard. So he's got a tremendous record of playing. I think he's only missed one prelim final since his debut, which is insane. So you think about it, debuting, played one NRL game in 2014, and then played in a prelim final 2015, prelim final 2016, prelim final 2017, prelim final 2018, etc. All the way. The only year that he didn't play in a prelim final was 2022. And if you go back and you look at all the Storm finals games, he's always featured very, very heavily and had an influence in the game.
Yeah, the entire Storm spine are all amazing players, but Munster's the one that scares me the most. He's when the chips are down, if we seem to be getting the upper hand, he's the one that's going to do something that, whether it's broken play or sleight of hand, he's going to pull something out of a hat that we've seen multiple occasions pull our pants down. We all remember the Cam McInnes Superman dive, clutching at air as Munster ran around him. It's just one of those things that broken play, the second kick, or a dropped ball out the back and Munster picks it up. That scares me.
Yeah.
Is
that it's hard. He's hard to defend against because he doesn't know what he's going to be doing, and that unpredictability with players like that are very, very hard. You can do all the video in the world on Munster, but you just don't know what he's going to be doing because he doesn't know what he's going to be doing. And I think that's what makes him ultimately a big threat for opposition.
We've seen it when the Sharks have been beaten by the Roosters. Sometimes I think it's really noticeable then that Tedesco is just a class above all the other players and is the reason why. And that's the same problem we have with Munster. And when you really compare the Storm team to the Sharks team, and you look at all the positions, every player on their day in the Sharks team can probably match up to the Storm guys, except Cameron Munster is like so much clearly better than any player that the Sharks has got. And you're right, Franco, it's one for us to be scared on. Obviously, Pappenhausen's better than Will Kennedy, but Munster's he is like, elite level player and could literally beat us on our own. So he's certainly one that we've got to look out for. So as you look at the spine, Daniel, you've got to be confident of the four there that's stronger. However, the rest of the team, compared to the Sharks, I think the Sharks have got an edge in a few areas there. What's your take on the rest of the Storm lineup and how you're going to deal with the big Shark forwards?
To that point, that's where the obvious strength of Cronulla Sutherland is coming through the front door of that middle. And the thing that really worries me and concerns me is the loss of Nelson Asafa-Solomona, because he was the X factor, he was the point of difference, he was the agent of chaos for the Melbourne Storm to be able to try and match fire with fire, especially in that middle to hold the ruck. Without him there, it's going to be a challenge. I hope, and I mentioned this on my podcast the other night, I hope that Bellamy and the coaching staff go back to the 2017 Jason Taumalolo playbook and blueprint of being able to shut what they did to Taumalolo, and hopefully they can try and implement a few different things to try and stop the impact of that play one carry of Adam Fennell-Blake, because he just sets the platform for play two, play three carries after that. Like he has accentuated the likes of Toby Rudolph to exponential levels. And it's all because of that play one carry. He makes the players, the next ruck after him, they all look like world beaters because of he's got such an ability to score opposition middles in that regard. And that can really set, obviously the stat, again, we were talking about stats before, the amount of times Brayley runs. So I think if Brayley runs five times in a game, the Sharks go on to win, which is insane. And a lot of that is because of the impact of Adam Fanua-Blake. And he was brought to the Sharks to do a job. And he has been that missing piece of the puzzle for them. He is the forward leader. He's the enforcer. He's that dominant alpha that just basically can dominate a game and turn a game. And what has been most impressive for Cronulla is his second stint. When he's coming off, and going back on in that sort of second stanza in the second half, he's more effective. And that's a real. And then you've got the impact of someone like Colquhoun, Ueli that's coming off the bench and doing a job as well. He's found his best football. Talakai, everyone knows how damaging he can be as well.
He's good. So, how are you going to deal with Talakai, Daniel? So the Sharkies, whilst you're right, Fanua-Blake's shotgun. So whilst you say Fanua-Blake's good, that often the teams have got forwards that can fight back against Fanua-Blake. And so what we're finding with the Sharks is that in that 25 minutes then, you would have seen it with the Raiders, is that, Tom Hazelton came on and was good for a couple of minutes, but then Talakai's really the difference maker. Are you guys equipped with your bench here? Tell us about the makeup of the Storm bench, and have you got guys that can tackle Talakai? Like he's difficult to deal with.
Yeah, you got to get there in numbers, and you got to try and meet him before he gets that run up as well. So rather than him playing over the ad line, which the Sharks have been able to do because of the momentum they've been able to get in and around the ruck, the Storm's line speed have got to get up and get there in numbers. So obviously AB defenders, markers getting up, cutting him down early. Very similar sort of game plan that they've got to try and attack with Fanua-Blake. They've got to get there in numbers and early. They can't allow him to run and meet them at the defensive line. So that's got to be the ploy that the Storm have to really engage with in regards to trying to limit. I don't think you can stop, but I think to limit the impact that Talakai and Fanua-Blake have in this regard. In regards to the bench, whilst Sean Bloor is named on the interchange bench in jersey 15, I anticipate that he will actually start the game with Ativalu Lasati, who's listed in jersey 11. He will go back to the bench. He primarily is more of a middle forward. He's a big body with late footwork at the line and has been doing a really, really good job forcing his way into this 17. So I anticipate that's going to be the first change of this 17. I may be wrong, but knowing that Bloor is back from injury and he has been listed, I can't see him starting off the bench. I think he's an 80-minute player. He's got that cohesion and understanding with the left edge with Munster, Howarth and Coates. I anticipate that Bloor will start on an edge, which means the bigger-bodied middle Lasati will join Kemikamita and McDonald as the middle rotation for the Melbourne Storm.
Try and deal with Talakai, Ueli, and Oregon Kafusi. Franko, anything else you want to ask Daniel about this team?
Oh, look, there's plenty to go through. We went through the spine one by one. We've got a little bit to talk about maybe when you jump off, Dan, about Harry Grant, who's also a really good player. But the home ground advantage, full house, Klein as the ref. We know that
I've got to talk about Klein as the ref, don't we?
The Melbourne Storm like to spoil the ruck, slower to play the ball down. They've got 3 players in the top 10 for ruck infringements with Trent Loiero, Cam Munster and Harry Grant. Is the ref going to cave to finals pressure? Are we going to get some 6 agains? What do you think's going to happen there, mate?
I think it'll go both ways. I think if the Storm push the envelope in terms of trying to get some ascendancy defensively by slowing down the ruck, then I will anticipate it's definitely going to go both ways in that regard. So if the Storm get penalised early on, then it's going to be exactly the same for the Sharks in that regard. I don't buy into the notion, and Boldo knows this as well. I don't buy into the notion in regards to the referee is going to have a big say in the outcome of this game. I don't subscribe to that. I think you got 80 minutes of rugby league. There's going to be multiple moments from errors to ill discipline to missed tackles that are going to contribute to victory or defeat. So unless it's an absolute clanger, which again the bunker is probably known for, but I don't anticipate that Klein is going to be a hometown friend of the Melbourne Storm tomorrow night at all. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I think the two teams will determine the result, and that's the way it should be. And any fan, and I say this sincerely, any Storm fan or any Sharks fan that wants to go, oh, referee, no, be better than that.
Very good.
Well, I guess the thing is, Daniel, I'll just touch on the referees. In the finals, the refereeing, obviously there's more people watching and the stakes are higher, but also the margins in these matches are so fine. And so the one that I always go back to is the 2001, and I'm convinced that there was one decision against the Sharks, which may or may not have been a penalty. It was Chris Beattie hitting Andrew Johns late. The decision to penalise Chris Beattie for that turned the game. And those two teams were so close in that game that it was that one decision that can turn it. And so in these games, you can have those individual moments. And so, and going back at that example of 2001, the Sharks were immature then. And the Raiders last week were immature against the Sharks. And one thing in these final series is back to those moments of, not challenging at the wrong time. I felt Nico Hines that was a bad challenge when he said for us against the Raiders to challenge there. And, in terms of a mature football team and the experience of it, that's another edge that the Storm have got. The maturity of the Storm, Daniel, it just continues, doesn't it?
I think so. And I think that comes with experience. And they've got the big game players there. They've got the big game players who have played in finals, who have played in origins and representative matches where when the pressure starts to mount, they can try and keep a cool head. And I think that's what they'll be trying to rely on tomorrow night, obviously, against the Sharks when the pressure does come. And it will come. It will come at certain stages. There's going to be waves of momentum. It'll be down to those big game players, the experience to sort of rise to the fore if and when needed.
Last one.
All right, conscious of your time. Oh, yeah, go, Franko.
Last one from me, Dan. The last 3 games for the Sharkies has been underpinned by strong defence. We managed to hold out the opposition all 3 games for about 20 minutes. Raiders was a bit longer, but basically weather the storm, pun intended, and repel the attack, get back over the top and come home with a wet sail. That's good against, I guess, the Bulldogs, the Raiders, the Roosters, but the Storm are the number 1 attacking team this season. I don't think that's going to last. What do you expect the scoreline to be around that 20-30 minute mark?
I think this is going to be a low-scoring affair, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think attack is going to really dictate terms in terms of the inevitable result. I think, to your point, I think the Sharks coming in as probably the best defensive team over the past 9 rounds and 9 weeks, I should say, including the finals games. That's where it's going to be won. So if Storm can get into good ball, yes, they've got attacking threats. But one thing that I think Cronulla has a distinct advantage is their kicking game. The ability to turn a bad set into a good set through a good kicking game. And we've seen that with Trindle over the past couple of weeks. His ability to put the ball high, not necessarily long, but to put it high to take the time away from the back 3 of the opposition has been pivotal to where the Sharks have been able to have success, because it's allowed their line speed and their defensive line to get up early in sets, rather than opposition getting the ball and starting sets 30 or 40 out from their own try line on tackle one. And I think that's a real distinct advantage that the Sharks have. And this is why I think that's going to nullify the Storm's impact in attack, where they start their sets, how much time their back three is going to have to start sets well, and try and get to good ball early. I don't think they're not going to have their latitude because of that. And again, the ability to repel the Sharks in regards to, obviously they're going to roll downfield a lot. They're going to roll the ruck with ease on the back of your Fanua Blakes, your Rudolphs, your Uelis, your Colquhouns, and co coming off the line and really rolling downfield. That's going to open up the field for their natural ball runners. That to me is going to be the danger. Where can the Storm, from a goal line D perspective, can they stop? Can they stop? Because if it's down to field position, I think the Sharks are going to definitely dominate from a field position perspective. It'll just come down to possession, and that'll come down to errors, discipline, and whoever is the better of those two will I dare say will come away with the victory tomorrow night.
I can see the chats going off. We're going to respond to the chats in a second after Daniel jumps off. One last question for you, mate. How does the match play out? Give us your prediction. Who wins?
Oh, well, naturally I have to tip Melbourne, don't I? So,
you
look,
don't have
I think
to.
this is going to... Yeah. Look, I think this is going to be tight. To me, it's going to be an uncomfortable watch. There's going to be a lot of stress. I've already forewarned my neighbours. I've apologised in advance. So it's definitely going to be a tight game. I anticipate a real arm wrestle. And again, hopefully those big players do stand up and that experience does kick in. But if I was to give a tip, I would say Storm by 4 with no confidence.
All right, there you go. Storm by 4. Stormy Daniel. Thanks for coming on, mate. It's always good to see you. We had you on during the State of Origin watch-alongs in the middle of the season. You're a very learned rugby league fan and just an absolute gentleman. So it's been good fun having you on. I think you've even got me convinced that the Sharks are a better chance now. But that's just what you Storm guys do. You're just flipping the script on us and making us... We all know the Storm's going to be good, Daniel. Don't try and trick us into thinking that you guys aren't the favourites. You're a quality rugby league team. And you're a quality human being, mate. So for any Storm fans watching, go follow the Stormcast on podcast and available on Apple Pods and a whole bunch of other places, Spotify and other places as well. Daniel, go enjoy your dinner, mate. Text us during the match and we'll look, one of us is going to have a bad night tomorrow night. So hopefully it's you.
Well, rugby league's the winner regardless.
Sounds good. All right, mate. We'll catch up with you soon.
And to those people that were sending those lovely messages in as well, thank you very much.
You've got plenty of fans in the chat. Plenty of fans in the chat, Daniel. We're going to go through those now. So we'll look at those. All right, mate. Enjoy your dinner. Enjoy the game tomorrow night.
Okay. See you, Boldo.
Thanks very much, Dad.
All right. That was Stormy Daniel. I saw the comments coming in. I thought, I won't put them up on screen whilst he's there, Franko. That'll be a little bit mean. Let's hit through them. Shauno says, in the words of Michael Clark, get ready to get a broken effing arm.
That's my comment of the episode so far. That one.
That one's pretty good. Shauno then says, all jokes aside, should be a cracking game. I'm excited like when I used to play. That's very cool. Vincent says, Hughes being in the team doesn't benefit the team at all. He won't last more than 20 minutes. Well, you're right, Vincent. If he doesn't last more than 20 minutes, that'll be a real problem for them. Having rewatched the 1988 Sharks match against Balmain Tigers, Barry Russell was the halfback with a bound shoulder. It was just curtains for the Sharks once they got into trouble.
Yep.
Dean 180.
That's right. We'll come back to it. You keep going.
We'll come back to it. Yeah, we'll come back to it. We'll hit through these. Dean 180 says 99, 2002, 2008, 2018 couldn't do it. But can the Sharks 2025? Well, Dean, we've also got 2024
there.
We've also got 2024. We also have 1988. in there as well, Dean. So that maybe is a bit more depressing for us. And then, Dean, I cried when the Sharks beat the Storm in the 2008 prelim at 12 years old. I'm going to cry again tomorrow at 29 years old. Yeah, Dean, I cried too. That one hurt a lot. Vincent Spears says Sharks have forgotten what losing is like, predicting a Sharks 1-12 victory and then backing it up. Dean, have faith, brother. We're going to win. Have faith, Dean. Should we be telling our fellow Sharks fans, Franko, to have faith? Is that what we should be doing?
You certainly did in the Tuesday night's episode. So we'll see. That's, I mean, we're in a pretty strong position. We've got to say that. We've been doing pretty well the last few rounds. I'll keep my powder dry on whether or not we should have faith or not.
Fair enough. Jethro Vickers says, Stormy Daniel, just wondering what the hair routine is looking like. I can confirm that he did have a fresh buzz cut. Jethro, you must be a buddy of Stormy D. I haven't seen you comment for a while. It's pretty funny. G'day to you, Think Entertainment. We're certainly getting more anti-opponent messages on this chat tonight, Franko, than we ever get. I think that just must be the gravitas of the match. Yeah, just people like just saying, yep. But yeah, Vincent, here he is. I can say with my full chest, even if we lose, we're going to win. Okay, cool. Stephen Elmer, has Hughes met Sipper's thick shoulder before? I can't wait to see Sipper Talakai running at your own Hughes. That's going to be great. Think Entertainment, I can't respond to that. I'm not going to respond to those. Those are just rude. Come on, guys. You can taunt me like that because I don't get much. Alan Batson says you can't underestimate the home ground advantage with a sold-out crowd. Yeah, but I think the Sharks fans, Franko, can have their own impact. I think the Sharks fans tomorrow night certainly need to bring it. I'll certainly be doing my best to fire them up. Luca and the Vic supporters group. What do you think?
I think it's no, you're right, but also it's a little bit of a different kettle of fish in Melbourne. So I guess one thing compared to Canberra, sold out ground there at GIO, it's less of a stadium, more of an open ground park. We certainly saw the Sharks fans turn the tide there and were louder than their Canberra opponents. But also the Melbourne crowd are generally more vocal than New South Wales or Queensland fans. We typically go to the game to hang out with mates and the game is in the background, whereas Melbourne fans go there to watch the game and cheer and support. So again, in a fully enclosed stadium, so that it's a bit louder in there as well, any noise you make. It's just going to come
stupid bell.
Yeah, that's stupid. Do they still do the bell? I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't heard it for a while.
Yeah, the stupid bell was there last time.
You've just got to silence them by putting on a performance. That's what it comes down to, right? So take the crowd out of it, as they say.
Mark Hayes, I'll answer this one for you. Hey guys, both sides have a great bench. Who is the one player on the bench that will have the most impact on the game? Mark, the undisputed answer to that question is Siosifa Talakai. You wait and see. He's going to absolutely blow the Storm guys away, Franko. He's the difference maker. Richard White in the comments, all the talk about lack of respect is us showing confidence, something we were missing in the last year's game versus the Panthers. Yeah, I think last year's game versus the Panthers, Richard, is going to be a learning curve for the Sharks that will help them, but they've got a different air of confidence about them this time. They learn a lot from that Panthers game, and one big thing we were missing was the size of an AFB-like forward. Franko, that last year's Panthers game, we were heartbroken on the debrief afterwards. It's got to put us in. You got to lose one to win one.
Yeah, I guess, but also you got to remember we were kind of battered last year as well. We weren't fit and firing like we are this year. Nico Hines had just come back from an injury.
Yeah,
we were in all respect, we were kind of like Melbourne are now, right? They're rolling the dice, putting injured players in because it's last chance saloon. And so with that in mind, we probably didn't have the confidence that we did with having a full strength behind us. So, yeah.
I'm trying to
I
remember
do.
that Shark versus Panthers prelim final last year. Did Daniel Atkinson play? It was Jack Williams, Royce Hunt, Tom Hazelton, and Dan Atkinson on the bench. I think that was a mistake, and we needed the 4 forwards. I think Fitzy's worked that out now. It's a different team. I think you're right. And as Vincent says, there's no way the Storm can handle our bench. Lol, you're definitely right. But also says stats are relevant. It's all about who comes to play on the night. Mike Knight says after Raiders rested the team and lost by 50, the bad stat remains. Well, that's probably true. I'm hoping the other stat that we've opened is a premiership outside the top 4. Well, I want to play the Panthers, Franco. That's who I want to play.
Well, as we joked about, the grand final could be 2 teams that came from outside the top 4.
Yeah. So it definitely puts that to bed, certainly, doesn't it? Ashley Williams in the comments says, Klein scares the F out of him for tomorrow night. Ashley, you just love talking about the refs, don't you? What else have we got? Jethro Vickers says, Stormy Daniel, I've got a question. Why do you support such a shit club? That's a bit harsh. I couldn't really ask that one of him, could I, Franco? I did ask him that on one of our past streams, Jethro, and I can't remember the answer. So we'll ask him next time. Cam Watts says, up the Sharkies. Cam Watts, you support Melbourne, you donkey, fake Shark supporter. Oh, how good's people just taunting each other? This is so good. I love people taunting each other in the chat. Normally, I'm the one who gets taunted in the chat, Franco. This is so good. Storm will break the salary cap just running on the field. It's a bit harsh, maybe a bit too soon. Mike Knight, Sharks forwards are making the room for Brayley and the halves to rise. That's definitely true. No one can stop Halakai. Let's keep going through these. He's just getting hammered here. Oh, God. Cam Watts, hey, Stormy Daniel, just a quick question. Why do you put yourself through so much disappointment following such a shit club? All right, cool.
I mean, hey, they've got plenty of success behind them. I think they'd be a very easy team to follow.
I think they'd be an easy team to follow too. In fact, in many ways, sometimes you've just got to ask, why did we choose to support the Shark, Franco? Donovan is on. Come on, Sharkies. And then says, Jethro, you're banned. Well, he's still going, Jethro. We'll leave Jethro. He's got enough comments going. God, these comments are... Oh, I know who Jethro Vickers is. Of course. He's the unhinged guy from Barker College. That's who that guy is. He's like a legend, that guy. I love you, Jethro. That's where I know that from. Donovan Michael, go back to Cleveland. All right, now there's a whole bunch of... Oh, God, these guys are just going nuts. Shauna in the comments said 2019 grand final. Can't tell me that wasn't decided by the referee. The call itself might not skew a result, but a momentum shift it certainly will. I think the answer's somewhere in the middle with Stormy D. I think he's trying to just make people not bitch on the referee so much, wouldn't you say, Franco?
Look, as we mentioned last week in the Raiders game, there were a few calls that Sharks fans weren't happy with, but it's easier to look over those when you win. The Melbourne Storm has a history of winning quite consistently, ergo probably can overlook ref calls quite consistently as well.
I just laugh at it. There are so many comments here. I just don't know where to go with all of these. All right. If you want to make sure that your comment gets on the screen, guys, you certainly can do that by giving us a super chat. Let's go to the last one. Shauno, Shark should Shark fans start seeing
positive messages. I see how it is.
Oh, we can go back. Which one did we miss, Franco?
No, it's all good. We can skip all that. That's fine. We don't need to talk about spot on Franco here from Mike Knight. Another great take from Franco here by
Franco. Here we go.
Franco, the guru from Vincent.
Come on.
Hey, gosh, thank you, gang.
Just showing him love. Can you put it in the comments? Who knows more about the Sharks, me or Franco? I just want to see me just get soundly smashed on this, Franco. Everyone's going to vote for you.
We all
All
love the
right, mate.
Sharks. That's all that matters.
We all love the Sharks in our own way. All right. Well, look, I'm down here for the match, and so the Sharks fans are all preparing. So anyone who's down here, here we go. Mike Knight comes in with an F. There you go, 1-0. I'm going to get soundly smashed on this. This is so good. I'll be disappointed if you don't get all the votes, Franco, in that one.
I'm sure there's someone that loves you.
Yeah. Well, my mother sadly doesn't know how to comment yet, so she's been meaning to. So the Sharks fans are all assembling at a place called Pink Lemonade. If you are a Sharks fan down here, the Victorian supporters group has certainly been active. The Sharks fans are planning a walk-in together. I think it is at 6:50 p.m. So get amongst that, Sharks fans, if you're down here, because we certainly need to make an impact and certainly have that impact. Franco, how was your feeling after seeing all of that from Daniel? They just do such a good job, the Storm, of quelling expectation and even trying to make themselves underdogs. What's your take?
Yeah, look, certainly nervous. We did a Sharks fan march into the stadium for 2008, and we all know what the result was for that one. Yeah, look, he spoke very well, Stormy Daniels. He obviously has a strong base of a club to work from and build that confidence from past experience. I think thanks very much, Cam Walters. Cam Watts, sorry. So he's got a lot of that, and you guys were certainly very glass half full on the Tuesday night episode, pumping each other up and really getting behind the wave of emotions there. I don't want to temper it, but let's do a little bit of devil's advocate and throw some glass half empty comments out there. Yes, the last 8 rounds or whatever have been pretty impressive. Pretty much since the bye, right? That said, not too long before then, we did lose to the Dragons, which is a bit of a hurtful moment. That said, so did the Storm. So that's good. But getting a bit closer to home, we beat the Bulldogs, which is a team that for the last 4 rounds only beat the Panthers B team. We beat the Roosters, who squeaked into the 8, and we beat the Raiders, who had their one of their halves missing through illness and had just played a 94-minute game. And in all 3 of those matches, we had a massive defensive set where we had to repel the teams for a significant portion of time. I don't think that same mentality will work against the Storm if we give them that much ball and that much possession on our line. They're going to find a way to crack us, and it's going to be a lot harder to turn that around. I think that we are in a really good, healthy position, though. I think if you look at that Raiders game, we really came out hard, and yes, it didn't go to plan because we were defending for basically 35 minutes. But initially, you look at our ruck speed and our defense. We were pushing the Raiders back before a couple of calls went our way and a couple of dropped balls from Toby that you mentioned earlier. That put us on the back foot. So discipline is going to be really a key factor here. We can't go into the half with something like 51% completion rate. We've got to be on our A game, and I think that goes without saying in these finals matches. So if we turn up on our day, running down the middle, I think we're in for a treat. That said, I don't think, and there's a lot of people talking about running it Hughes. I don't think that should be our only game plan, right? We saw what happened in the grand final with the Roosters and Cronk, where he continually changed positions in the defensive line, made it very difficult for
Be isolated.
Yeah, very difficult to be isolated or even be targeted, right? You sort of anticipate where you're going to send a forward, and Cronk's not there. It's very hard to sort of do a 180 and have someone else hit the line. So if we're focusing our attention on trying to chase Hughes around, if he is moving around, that could
We might
be a
not
detriment
catch
to
other stuff.
our formations, right? So be careful of that. If he's there, if he's standing there, by all means, run at him and engage him and see where his arm's at, right? But I don't think that should be the be all and end all of our game plan. I think we should just try to beat them like any other game would have been. We know Bellamy's a smart operator. We know he's probably got a plan. If he's putting Hughes in, it could be a Mal Meninga style arm cast for all we know, and he could be knocking out players whoever run at him. But look, I'm excited. I do think we've got the team. If we go down the middle, I think that's the team we've got.
We got to go down the middle, Franco.
Got to go down
We
the
got to
middle.
bash them. We got to bash them up. We got to use the size. We got to be mistake free, and it's quite a simple game plan. Let me hit through a few more of these comments, and I'll get a bit more from you, Franco. Bianca B in the comments says, "I think the refs did such a good job last week. So proud of the refs." Look, that's such a rare comment for anyone to like the refs, isn't it, Franco? What's your response to anyone that says that the refs are doing a good job? Do you think they did a good job last week?
I think you'll find in the debrief I did say they did a good job. Yeah, I did. I thought they did a really good job. I think that it was, a couple of calls weren't right. That knockback call specifically, but I think overall that was a game where the calls came out in the wash. We were kind of our own worst enemy there in that first half, and then in the second half we took the ref out of it, right? But reffing's a tough game, a tough gig. I think
it is difficult.
A lot of
we
scrutiny.
make more mistakes. We make more mistakes, Franco, in an 80-minute podcast saying the wrong thing and talking over each other and being bullheads than the referees make in an NRL game. So they've got a pretty tough time. Now, Donovan calls out that Bianca is a Panthers supporter, so don't even bother. So therefore, no wonder Bianca thinks that the refs are having a good game because she's a Panthers fan. Well, I don't think she's a Panthers fan. I'm pretty sure she'll be a Sharks fan. So, all right, let's keep going through some of these. Harley's here. G'day, good to see you, Harley. Harley says, I am the biggest Sharks fan. In 2002, I was 6 years old. So that's probably true. And then Bianca B confirms I was actually a Sharks member when I was 1 year old, thanks to Boldo.
Oh,
that's true. That is true. Because Bianca B is my lovely niece, if you didn't work that out, Franco. So, yes, she was a Sharks fan from birth. Good to see you, Bianx. And then Cam Watts, doggy since day one. Well, yeah, but you're Shark this week, right, Cam? Anyway, all right, as the comments keep going against each other. Jono, does the neutral fan jump on the Shark bandwagon? Panthers and Melbourne are too successful and no one likes the Super Club Broncos. So are we the default neutral supporters adopted team? I will answer that one for this. I must have been contacted by, I reckon, at least 20 people telling me that they were supporting the Sharks and hoping the Sharks win. So I think we are the supported team. Franco, would you back that up?
absolutely.
We normally are anyway. So
there was a period there where we were everyone's second favorite team. That washed away through the 2000s. But you know what? There's probably a few out there that have a soft spot for the Sharks.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, Franco, give us your tip. Give us what's going to happen in this match. How does it play out, mate?
Look, we talked about running down the middle and knocking down the front door. There's been a lot of talk about Grant versus Brayley. Over the last 5 years, Grant has had more try assists, run meters than Brayley, except for this year.
This year. I knew you were going to say that.
This year. So this is Brayley's time. Whether that's because we've got our forwards firing, we've got AFB, or whether it's just he's coming out of his shell. But this year is Brayley's year. Grant's got a bit more of a kicking game and maybe a little bit more creativity, but Brayley is on fire. and I think he's going to take advantage of us. We, as far as a team collectively, I think we're coming second in terms of run meters. So that's what we've got to do. That's our strength. We've got to keep Penrith away. Similar to the game plan against the Roosters, really, with the big wingers towering over and having a big jumping game. Xavier Coates scares me. Try and keep him out as much as we can, both in the high contest in the air, but also Nico this season. He's thrown a few intercepts, and Coates is pretty good at sniffing out intercepts. So I'd be worried about that, keeping an eye on that one. That face ball that he threw against the Raiders might not come out the same way against the Storm. So we'll keep an eye on that. And also all the talk about Hughes, he is pretty important, right? When he went off, it was only 6-4 against the Broncos, and then after he left, they got destroyed. So definitely every Sharks fan will be playing the Hughes watch. Look, I don't want to say I'm confident, but I think we can win it. I do think we can win it. I think it's going to be, as Stormy D mentioned, it's going to be a nervous watch, because it's Melbourne. You can never be sure that you're going to beat them until the final whistle blows. But I think we can beat them. Need to try and remind ourselves that both the Roosters and the Raiders, we came from behind. They scored first. Can we do that against Melbourne? I hope we don't give them an opportunity, but if we do, we've got to hang on and hope that we can get over the top of them, the back end of both halves. And as mentioned earlier, I definitely think our bench is stronger.
All right, let's go through the last of these comments before we wrap this show up. Mike Knight says, I told Boldo last time, Sharks 12-10. Drizzy Goat, big game tomorrow. Sharks 32, Storm 16. Drizzy Goat, please let it be that. Please. Backs it up, saying, no way the Sharks are losing if they play like they did last weekend and against the Roosters. Shauno says 14-12 Sharks. Crucial, Boldo. Take the 2 will be what gets us the win. Oh, Shauno, you just know how to you just get me, don't you, Shauno? And you just know that with me and Franko solo on a pod, that talking about the take the 2, it is going to be tight, isn't it, Franko? So maybe taking 2. Jethro Vickers asks, Franko, what's your take for the Daily M?
Look, I hate to say it, but when the media is so unanimous on a player,
they win.
Since it's an award voted by the media, they're generally pretty close. So it's probably going to be Tedesco, and that will be all she wrote. That said, given that Harry Grant is ineligible, maybe we get Brails as the hooker of the year.
Maybe we do. And sadly, if Will Kennedy didn't take all those points off Brayley at the start of the season, maybe Brayley would have been a chance. All right, let's. Anything else from you, Franko, before we wrap this one up?
No, mate. I think we've covered this. Certainly a ball of nerves and a ball of energy all at the same time. It's only 24 hours away now. This time tomorrow will be 5 minutes into the game. It's gonna be amazing. I'm just hoping we get over the line with a victory. A Sharks grand final will be a pretty good achievement in and of itself, to give us a chance to knock off whoever to get our second premiership. That would be a grand achievement, but we got to go through Melbourne first, and that in itself is a tough ask.
That it certainly is. All right, Sharks fans, this was the ET Stand podcast for this recorded Thursday night before the Friday night game. I'll get this one live on audio. Do follow us on Instagram if you want to see my activities and carry on at the game. I'll be with all the Sharks fans down at Pink Lemonade, so you can see the march in, and I'll do a few fan interviews and all that sort of stuff. We do have the comment competition. So before I announce the winner of that one, and I have got a pick, so I'm going to do the pick, Franko. I've got the one that I'm going to pick, and it's more for collective body of work tonight, actually. Do hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel and discovering us for the first time. Franko and I will be live after full time tomorrow night, win, lose, or draw. We will go live after the interviews and all of that sort of carry on, because I know all the Sharks fans will want to watch that. And that also gives me time to get back to this hotel room so that I can be here in time for us to hopefully not have another heartbreaking prelim final podcast. I'm going to announce the winner of the best comment competition goes in the draw to win a unit from our friends at Displayware for a way to display your footy jerseys. And I'm going to give it to the unhinged commenter, Jethro Vickers, tonight, for his relentless ball of energy and unhinged nature. But Franko's saying it should go to someone else. So if you want to put a second entry in, we'll put Jethro and someone else in. Franko, who do you like?
Look, I don't think you're going to argue with me. I still think Shauno gets in with his Michael Clark reference. But hey, he also gave you a shout out in terms of Boldo's take two.
So we're going to put Shauno in.
He had a double whammy.
You're in. Shauno, you're in. Again, I think we've already got Shauno in the draw. We'll put Jethro Vickers in too. We're feeling generous. It's a great night to be a Sharks fan. All right, Sharks fans, we will see you tomorrow night. That was the ET Stand podcast for me, my dear friend Stephen Franklin. Franko, as we call him on the pod. I'm your host, David Bolderman, for this one. Ciao for now. Go the Sharks. Up, Cronulla.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite-level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated. More often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.